In the vast expanse of the cosmos, where stars whispered secrets to wandering souls and galaxies swirled like lovers in an eternal dance, there existed a world called Zerathia. It was a realm of shimmering auroras and crystalline spires that pierced the violet skies, home to a race of ethereal beings known as the Zorathians. They were elegant creatures, with skin as pale as moonlight and ears that tapered into delicate points, reminiscent of ancient elven lore from Earth's forgotten myths. Among them was Lyra, a young Zorathian woman whose white hair cascaded like a waterfall of silk down her back, framing a face of exquisite beauty. Her body was a masterpiece of graceful curves, clad in garments that hugged her form with a sensuous elegance, flowing fabrics of iridescent silver that revealed just enough to tantalize, yet maintained an air of regal mystery. But beneath that poise lay a hidden insecurity, a whisper of doubt that plagued her in the quiet moments. Lyra lived in the grand citadel of Aurales, the heart of Zerathia, where the air hummed with the energy of advanced technologies intertwined with ancient magic. Her people had long mastered the art of harmony with the universe, but they were not without their vulnerabilities. A strange affliction had befallen the Zorathian females in recent cycles, a subtle diminishment of their physical forms, particularly in the areas that symbolized fertility and allure in their culture. What humans might crudely call coconuts, the Zorathians revered as Asara, the essence of vitality. Lyra's Asara were modest, almost understated, and in a society where such attributes were celebrated in grand festivals and courtship rituals, she often felt like a shadow among stars. Enter Eli, a rugged earthling explorer from the distant blue planet. With his tousled dark hair, piercing blue eyes, and a physique honed by years of interstellar adventures, Eli was the epitome of human resilience. He piloted the sleek Starship Odyssey, a vessel equipped with cutting-edge nanotechnology designed for medical emergencies and environmental adaptations. Eli had crash-landed on Zerathia during a routine survey mission, his ship battered by a rogue asteroid storm. Stranded but undaunted, he emerged from the wreckage with a grin that could charm the stars themselves. Humans, after all, were known across the galaxy for their ingenuity, their unyielding spirit, and their uncanny ability to turn disaster into destiny. As Eli stumbled through the alien foliage, his scanner beeping wildly at the unfamiliar flora, he caught sight of Lyra gathering luminous herbs by a glowing stream. She froze at the sight of him, an outsider, a human, with his strange attire of practical jumpsuit and boots that seemed so out of place in her world of flowing silks. But there was something magnetic about him, a raw energy that drew her closer despite her instincts to flee. "Who are you?" asked in a voice like wind chimes, her pointed ears twitching slightly. Eli, ever the quick thinker, flashed a disarming smile. "Name's Eli, from Earth. Looks like I've taken a wrong turn at the Milky Way. You wouldn't happen to know a good mechanic around here, would you?" His words were laced with humor, a human trait that often bridged the vast chasms between species. Lyra tilted her head, her white hair shimmering under the dual suns. She had heard tales of humans, bold, inventive beings who conquered the void with sheer willpower. Intrigued, she approached, her gauzy dress swaying with each step, accentuating the subtle sway of her hips. "I am Lyra of Zerathia, your vessel. It is damaged. Come, I will guide you to the citadel. But beware, stranger, our world is not kind to those who disrupt the balance." As they journeyed together through the enchanted forests, where trees sang soft melodies and flowers bloomed in response to emotions, Eli couldn't help but notice Lyra's ethereal beauty. Her skin glowed faintly, and her eyes, a deep amethyst, held galaxies within them. But he also sensed her hesitation, the way she crossed her arms over her chest as if shielding herself from judgment. In Zorathian culture, the Asara were not just physical, they represented one's inner strength, and Lyra's modest size made her feel lesser in the eyes of potential suitors. Eli, with his human empathy, struck up conversation to ease the tension. "Back on Earth, we have stories of beings like you, fairies, elves, you name it, but you're real and way more stunning than any legend." His compliment was genuine, laced with that earthy charm that made aliens across the stars blush, or in Lyra's case, cause her skin to shimmer with a soft pink hue, a Zorathian equivalent of flushing. She laughed lightly, a sound like tinkling crystals. "Humans are flatterers, or so the old scrolls say. But tell me, Eli, what brings you to our secluded world? Adventure? Conquest?" "Just exploration," he replied, his eyes twinkling. "Though meeting you feels like the best discovery yet." Their banter flowed easily as they reached the citadel's gates, towering structures of living crystal that pulsed with energy. The guards, tall Zorathians with spears that hummed with plasma, eyed Eli suspiciously but allowed passage at Lyra's insistence. Inside, the city was a marvel. Floating platforms, holographic markets, and fountains that defied gravity. Lyra led him to the healer's enclave, where ancient devices merged with bioluminescent plants to mend wounds. But fate, that capricious force of the universe, had other plans. As Eli unpacked his nano-tech kit to repair a minor injury from the crash, a gash on his arm, he accidentally activated the device. The nanobots, programmed for enhancement and regeneration, were meant for human physiology. In a moment of clumsiness, as Lyra leaned in to examine the glowing tool, a stray burst of energy enveloped her. The bots, mistaking her for the target, interfaced with her Zorathian biology in ways Eli could never have predicted. At first, nothing seemed amiss. Lyra felt a warm tingle, like sunlight on her skin, spreading from her core outward. But as they sat in the healer's chamber, sharing stories of their worlds, Eli recounting Earth's oceans and mountains, Lyra describing Zerathia's dancing auroras, something began to change. Her dress, once loosely fitting across her chest, started to tighten. The fabric stretched, outlining curves that grew more pronounced by the minute. Lyra's eyes widened as she felt the shift, her hands instinctively pressing against her blossoming Asara. "Eli, what is happening?" she whispered, her voice a mix of alarm and curiosity. Her skin began to shimmer brighter, that telltale blush spreading across her cheeks and down her neck. Eli stared, his own face flushing with realization. "Oh no, the nanotech, it's adaptive, it enhances based on perceived needs. In humans, it heals, but with you, it must have interpreted something differently." He scrambled for his scanner, but it was too late. Lyra's coconuts, as he mentally dubbed them in his Earth slang, had enlarged dramatically, transforming her modest form into one of voluptuous allure. Her dress now strained at the seams, the silver fabric accentuating every new curve, making her look like a goddess descended from the stars. The chamber fell silent, save for the soft hum of the crystals. Lyra stood, gazing at her reflection in a nearby holographic mirror. Her white hair framed a face now alight with a perpetual blush, her amethyst eyes wide with shock. But beneath the embarrassment, there was a spark, a newfound confidence bubbling up. The attention she would draw now, it terrified and thrilled her in equal measure. Eli reached out, his hand gentle on her arm. "Lyra, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean." She turned to him, her blush deepening, but a small smile tugged at her lips. "Humans, always full of surprises. This changes everything." As the sun set over Zerathia, casting the citadel in hues of lavender and gold, Eli and Lyra found themselves bound by this accidental miracle. Little did they know, this was just the beginning of a cosmic romance that would challenge traditions, ignite passions, and prove once again that human ingenuity could turn even the most awkward mishap into a legendary love story. The city buzzed with whispers as Lyra and Eli made their way through the winding corridors of the citadel. Guards and citizens alike stole glances at her transformed figure, their eyes lingering longer than politeness allowed. Lyra's steps were tentative at first, her arms folded protectively, but Eli's presence beside her offered a strange comfort. He walked with that confident swagger humans were famous for, his mind racing to find a way to reverse the nano effect if she wished. Yet, a part of him couldn't deny the allure, the way her enhanced form moved with an unconscious grace, her dress whispering against her skin like a lover's secret. They arrived at Lyra's private quarters, a spacious chamber overlooking the Aurora fields. Walls of translucent crystal allowed the lights to dance inside, casting ethereal patterns on the floor. She invited him in, her voice softer now, laced with vulnerability. "Eli, this alteration in my culture, the Asara are sacred. They signify readiness for bonding for deeper connections. What you've done, accidentally or not, has marked me in ways I cannot ignore." Eli nodded, sitting on a cushioned bench that molded to his form. "I get it. On Earth, we have our own hang-ups about bodies. But hey, if it's any consolation, you look incredible. Like, out of this galaxy incredible." His words were light, but his eyes held a deeper admiration, one that made her blush intensify, her skin glowing like a nebula. Lyra paced, her white hair swaying, the tips brushing against her newly amplified curves. She stopped before him, her pointed ears flushing at the edges. "Tell me more about your nanotech. How does it work? Could it enhance other things?" Her question was innocent, but the implication hung in the air, thick with unspoken curiosity. Eli leaned forward, explaining in simple terms how the bots read biological signals, amplified healing, and sometimes, in experimental modes, boosted attributes for survival in harsh environments. As he spoke, he demonstrated with a holographic projection from his wrist device, showing swirling particles that mimicked the process. Lyra watched, mesmerized, drawing closer until she was mere inches away. The air between them crackled with tension, a magnetic pull that neither could deny. In that moment, as the auroras outside flared brighter, Lyra felt a surge of boldness. She placed a hand on his knee, her touch electric. Humans are known for their passion, their ability to adapt and conquer. "Show me, Eli, show me what this change means." Eli's breath caught, his human heart pounding. He stood, gently cupping her face, his thumb tracing the line of her jaw. Their lips met in a kiss that bridged worlds, soft at first, then deepening with the fire of discovery. Lyra's body responded, her enhanced Asara pressing against him, sending waves of sensation through both. She gasped, pulling back slightly, her blush now a full bloom across her chest. This is new," she murmured, her voice husky. "My senses are heightened. Every touch feels like stars exploding." Eli smiled, his hands exploring the curves of her waist, careful and reverent. "That's the nano effect. It amplifies everything: strength, sensation, connection." He kissed her neck, eliciting a soft moan that echoed in the chamber. As they surrendered to the moment, clothes fell away like shed skins. Lyra's dress pooled at her feet, revealing her pale, glowing skin and the full glory of her transformed body. Eli marveled at her, his own form strong and earthly in contrast. They moved to the bed, a platform of soft, adaptive material that cradled them like a cloud. Their exploration was tender yet intense, hands and lips mapping uncharted territories. Lyra's reactions were amplified, each caress making her arch, her blush a constant companion, adding to the intimacy. In the throes of passion, Eli whispered words of encouragement, praising her beauty, her strength. "You're not just changed on the outside, Lyra. This is you, magnified, powerful." His words fueled her, turning embarrassment into empowerment. Hours passed in a blur of connection, the auroras outside mirroring their rhythm. As they lay entwined, Lyra's head on his chest, she traced patterns on his skin. "Eli, you've awakened something in me, but what of my people? They will notice. They will question." Eli held her closer. "We'll face it together. Humans don't back down from a challenge." Little did they know, the nano-tech had set off a chain reaction, one that would draw the attention of Zerathia's elders and ignite an adventure far beyond their wildest dreams. As the auroras faded into the soft glow of Zerathia's twin moons, casting silvery beams through the crystal walls, Lyra nestled deeper into Eli's embrace. Her fingers continued their lazy dance across his chest, tracing the faint scars from his past adventures, marks of a life lived on the edge of the unknown. The warmth of his skin against hers was intoxicating, a stark contrast to the cool, ethereal touch of her own people. She could feel the nano-tech still humming faintly within her, like a distant star pulsing with leftover energy, heightening every sensation until even the brush of fabric against her newly enhanced curves sent shivers racing through her body. Eli's hand stroked her white hair, his touch gentle yet possessive, as if anchoring her to this moment before the world outside could intrude. "Your people," he murmured, his voice a low rumble that vibrated against her ear. "They might see this as a gift, not a curse. You've become extraordinary." His words hung in the air, laced with an undercurrent of desire that made her blush deepen, her skin shimmering like a canvas painted with stardust. Lyra lifted her head, her amethyst eyes meeting his with a mix of uncertainty and budding fire. Extraordinary, or a scandal waiting to unfold? She shifted slightly, her body pressing closer, the fullness of her Asara brushing against him in a way that made them both catch their breath. The change had not just altered her form, it had amplified her responses, turning every glance, every touch into a spark that threatened to ignite. She felt exposed, vulnerable, yet undeniably alive, her pointed ears tingling as if attuned to some new frequency only he could broadcast. Before he could respond, a soft chime echoed through the chamber, the Citadel's communication system activating with a holographic projection. It was a summons from the Elders' Council, their stern faces materializing in the air like ghosts from the void. Lyra's heart raced, her blush spreading like wildfire as she hurriedly draped a silken robe over herself, though it did little to conceal the dramatic transformation. Eli sat up, his human instincts kicking in, alert, ready for whatever cosmic curveball was coming next. "We must go," she whispered urgently, her voice trembling not just from fear but from the lingering heat of their intimacy. They sensed disturbances in the energy fields. "Your nano-tech? It must have rippled through our grid." Eli nodded, pulling on his jumpsuit with efficient movements, but his eyes never left her. As they dressed, the air between them thickened with unspoken promises, the recent passion still fresh, making every accidental brush of hands feel charged. He stepped closer, helping her adjust the robe's clasp at her neck, his fingers lingering on the soft skin there, tracing down to where her pulse fluttered wildly. "Whatever happens," he said, his breath warm against her ear, "I'm with you. Humans have a knack for turning messes into masterpieces." They slipped out into the moonlit corridors, the citadel alive with nocturnal whispers, floating orbs of light guiding their path, the distant hum of Zorathian nightlife filtering through. Lyra led the way, her steps graceful but hurried, her enhanced figure drawing subtle glances from passing attendants. She could feel their eyes on her, the weight of curiosity and envy, and it only intensified her blush, making her cheeks glow like embers. Eli walked beside her, his presence a shield, but inside, his mind whirled with suspense. What if the elders deemed this an invasion? What if they separated them? As they approached the council's grand hall, a vast dome of swirling energy fields where the elders convened under a canopy of simulated stars, Lyra paused in a shadowed alcove. The suspense built like a storm on the horizon, her hand slipping into his, squeezing tightly. "Eli," she breathed, pulling him into the dim recess, away from prying eyes. "Before we face them, I need to feel grounded. Remind me why this change feels right." Her words were a plea wrapped in desire, and Eli responded without hesitation. He pressed her gently against the cool crystal wall, his body aligning with hers in a way that made her gasp softly. The robe slipped slightly, revealing the curve of her shoulder, and he kissed it tenderly, his lips trailing up to her neck where her blush burned hottest. "Because," he whispered between kisses, his hands exploring the familiar yet newly amplified terrain of her waist and hips, "you're not just beautiful, you're powerful. This is you, Lyra, unchained." She melted into him, her arms wrapping around his neck, pulling him closer as their lips met in a fervent kiss. The erotic tension coiled tighter, her body responding with heightened sensitivity, the nano-tech turning every caress into a symphony of pleasure. His hands roamed lower, cupping her through the thin fabric, eliciting a muffled moan that echoed faintly in the alcove. Lyra's fingers tangled in his hair, her pointed ears flushing as waves of sensation crashed over her, building suspense not just from the impending council meeting, but from the fear of being discovered in this intimate moment. Time seemed to stretch, the world narrowing to the heat between them. Eli's touch was deliberate, teasing the edges of her robe, exposing more of her glowing skin to the moonlight. She arched against him, her breath coming in short, heated bursts, the blush now a full-body flush that made her feel alive, desired, invincible. "More," she urged in a husky whisper, her amethyst eyes dark with need. He obliged, his mouth claiming hers again, deeper this time, as his hands slipped beneath the robe, tracing the soft, full contours that the nano-tech had gifted her. The sensation was electric, her body trembling with a mix of erotic bliss and the thrilling risk of interruption. Just as the passion threatened to consume them entirely, a distant footfall echoed down the corridor, a guard approaching, perhaps. They broke apart reluctantly, breaths ragged. Lyra's robe hastily readjusted, though the evidence of their arousal lingered in her persistent blush and the way her asara heaved with each inhale. Eli grinned, that human mischief in his eyes, wiping a strand of her white hair from her face. "To be continued," he promised, his voice low and full of intent. They emerged from the alcove, composing themselves as best they could, the suspense now palpable in every step toward the hall. The elders awaited, their holographic summons flickering impatiently, as the massive doors parted with a resonant hum, revealing the council seated in a circle of levitating thrones. Lyra felt a surge of conflicting emotions, fear of judgment, but also a newfound boldness fueled by Eli's touch and the changes within her. The lead elder, an ancient Zorathian named Thaler with silver-veined skin and eyes like black holes, fixed his gaze on them immediately. "Lyra of Orales," he intoned, his voice echoing like thunder in a vacuum. "You bring an outsider into our sanctum, and the energy webs tremble with anomaly. Explain this enhancement that radiates from you." Lyra straightened, her chin lifting with a confidence she hadn't known before, Eli's hand brushing hers discreetly for support. But as she opened her mouth to speak, a subtle alarm rippled through the hall, the nano-tech's chain reaction manifesting in unexpected ways. Faint sparks danced along the energy fields, and whispers among the elders grew into murmurs of concern. What had started as an accident was evolving, pulling them into a web of intrigue that blended the erotic awakening of their bond with the suspense of a galactic threat. Eli's mind raced, piecing together the possibilities. The bots might be spreading, adapting to Zerathia's tech, creating enhancements on a larger scale. He squeezed Lyra's hand tighter, the erotic undercurrents of their recent encounter fueling his determination. Whatever came next, it would test their connection, pushing them toward revelations that could reshape worlds. As the council's questions intensified, Lyra felt the blush return, not from embarrassment now, but from the thrilling secret she shared with Eli, their bodies still humming from the alcove's stolen moments. The erotic suspense built like a crescendo, each glance between them a promise of more, even as the elders' scrutiny threatened to unravel everything. Thaler leaned forward, his gaze piercing. The human's device has altered our balance. Demonstrate its effects or face quarantine. The words hung heavy, forcing Lyra to confront her transformation publicly, her heart pounding with a mix of dread and illicit excitement. Eli stepped protectively in front of her, his voice steady. "It's not a threat, it's progress. Let me show you." But inwardly, he wondered if the nano-tech's reach extended further, perhaps even influencing the elders themselves, setting the stage for a erotic and suspenseful unraveling of Zorathian society. The hall tensed, the air thick with anticipation, as Lyra's hand found Eli's again, their fingers intertwining in silent solidarity. The adventure was deepening, pulling them into realms where passion and peril danced on the edge of the unknown. Lyra's grip on Eli's hand tightened as Thaler's demand echoed through the grand hall, the simulated stars above swirling faster, as if the cosmos itself sensed the mounting drama. The elders' thrones hummed with restrained power, their faces a mosaic of curiosity and stern judgment, eyes flickering over her transformed figure with a mix that bordered on awe and suspicion. She could feel the weight of their stares, piercing through her robe like lasers, igniting that persistent blush that now felt less like embarrassment and more like a badge of her awakening. But beneath it all, a thrilling undercurrent pulsed, the secret fire Eli had kindled in the alcove, still simmering in her veins, making her stand taller despite the storm brewing. Eli, ever the human beacon of defiance, didn't flinch. His voice cut through the tension like a blade through vacuum. "Progress? Yeah, that's one way to put it. But let's call it what it is, a breakthrough. Your world's energy fields are reacting because the nano-tech isn't just altering Lyra, it's interfacing with your entire system. Think of it as a handshake between Earth ingenuity and Zorathian magic." He released her hand gently, stepping forward into the circle's center, where a holographic pedestal materialized, ready for demonstration. The air crackled with electricity, the elders leaning in, their pointed ears perking with curious anticipation. Lyra's heart thundered, a dramatic crescendo building within her as she watched him. What surprises lay in wait? The nano-tech had already rewritten her body. Now, it threatened to unravel the fabric of her society. She moved to stand beside him, her white hair catching the starlight, her enhanced X-Aurel rising and falling with each breath, drawing involuntary gasps from the younger elders. "Elder Thaler," she said, her voice steady despite the thrill of uncertainty, "this human has not invaded. He has elevated me. Allow us to show you." Thaler nodded slowly, his silver-veined skin rippling like disturbed water. "Proceed, but know this, if deception lurks, the void will claim you both." The words hung heavy, heightening the drama, as the hall's energy fields dimmed, focusing a spotlight on the pedestal. Eli placed his wrist device there, activating it with a flourish. A swarm of holographic nanobots erupted into view, dancing like fireflies in a storm, projecting the process that had changed her. But as the simulation ran, something unexpected happened. A surge rippled through the hall's grid, the bots leaping from hologram to reality, interfacing with the elders' thrones. Gasps echoed as the first elder, a wise female named Urindor, felt a tingle in her form. Her modest Asara began to swell subtly, her robe tightening just enough to elicit a surprised blush across her ancient cheeks. "What sorcery is this?" she exclaimed, her voice a mix of thrill and alarm. The chain reaction spread like wildfire, touching each elder in turn, some gaining enhanced stature, others a glow of vitality that erased centuries of wear. The hall erupted into chaos, elders rising from their thrones, touching themselves in disbelief, curious murmurs turning to thrilled exclamations. Eli's eyes widened in genuine surprise, his human mind racing to comprehend the escalation. "It's adapting," he muttered to Lyra, pulling her close as the energy swirled around them. "The nano-tech sensed your world's affliction, the diminishment. It's not just fixing individuals, it's curing the entire race." The revelation hit like a supernova, dramatic and unforeseen, transforming the council from accusers to unwitting beneficiaries. Thaler's own form shifted, his chest broadening with renewed strength, a blush creeping up his neck as he felt the surge of power. But the thrill turned thrillingly perilous as the grid overloaded. Alarms blared, crystalline walls cracking with hairline fractures, the simulated stars flickering erratically. "The balance is tipping," Thaler roared, his voice booming over the din. Lyra clung to Eli, her body thrumming with the same energy, her blush now a radiant glow that lit the space around them. In that climactic moment, a hidden truth surfaced. Zerathia's affliction wasn't natural. It was a curse from a rival faction, the shadowy Dravixians from a neighboring system, who had infiltrated their tech eons ago to weaken them. The surprise deepened as holographic archives unlocked involuntarily, revealing ancient logs, Dravixian spies embedding suppressants in the energy webs, sapping Zorathian vitality to pave the way for invasion. Eli's nano-tech, in its adaptive genius, had not only reversed it but exposed the saboteurs. "Look," Lyra cried, pointing to the projections where ghostly figures of Dravixian agents materialized, their plans laid bare. The elders stared in shocked curiosity, the hall's drama peaking as defensive protocols activated, shields enveloping the citadel, warriors materializing from hidden portals. Thrilling action erupted without warning. Dravixian drones, sensing the exposure, breached the outer barriers, sleek black vessels slicing through the aurora fields like predators in the night. The council hall shook as impacts reverberated, crystals shattering in dramatic sprays of light. Eli grabbed Lyra, dodging a falling shard, his human reflexes kicking in. "We need to fight back," he shouted, activating his device's combat mode, a burst of nano-shields enveloping them both. The battle unfolded in a whirlwind of suspense and surprise. Zorathian warriors, now enhanced by the spreading nano-effect, charged into the fray with renewed vigor. Their plasma spears glowed brighter, bodies moving with amplified grace, Esara and muscles alike bolstered, turning them into formidable forces. Lyra, feeling the power course through her, joined the defense, her hands channeling energy blasts that she had never wielded so potently before. "Eli, your gift, it's saving us," she called over the chaos, her voice laced with thrilling exhilaration, her blush a fierce emblem of her transformation. Eli fought beside her, his jumpsuit's built-in tech deploying drones of his own, miniature versions of the Odyssey's arsenal, zipping through the air to intercept Dravixian intruders. One drone exploded in a spectacular burst, taking down a swarm of enemy bots, the explosion lighting the hall like a new dawn. But the climax intensified as a massive Dravixian commander beamed in, a hulking figure of dark armor and glowing red eyes, wielding a void blade that sucked light from the air. "Your meddling ends here, human," it snarled, charging at Eli. The confrontation was heart-pounding, dramatic in its intensity. Eli dodged the blade's swing, the weapon cleaving a throne in two with a thunderous crack. Lyra leaped in, her enhanced form allowing her to move with surprising speed, her energy blast staggering the commander. "You underestimate us," she declared, her amethyst eyes blazing. Together they coordinated, Eli using his scanner to pinpoint weaknesses, Lyra exploiting them with precise strikes. The commander lunged again, its blade grazing Eli's arm, drawing blood that sizzled on the floor. In a thrilling twist, the nano-tech in Eli's blood reacted, spreading to the wound and healing it instantly while sending a feedback loop to the commander. The alien's armor began to malfunction, cracks forming as the bots infiltrated, enlarging its own vulnerabilities, its core reactor swelling uncontrollably. "What is this?" the commander gasped, its voice warping in surprise. With a final, climactic surge, Lyra and Eli combined their efforts, her channeling a massive energy wave, him directing nanoswarms to amplify it. The commander exploded in a shower of dark matter, the force rippling outward, repelling the remaining drones. The hall fell silent for a breathless moment, the elders emerging from cover, their faces a tapestry of awe and gratitude. Thaler approached, his enhanced form towering, a hand extended in unexpected alliance. "Human, you have not only saved one but all. The curse is broken." Lyra turned to Eli, her blush softening into a glow of triumph, pulling him into a fierce embrace amid the debris. The thrill of victory mingled with curious wonder. What other surprises did this bond hold? As the elders convened anew, whispers of alliance with Earth filled the air, the dramatic turn of events forging a new era. But in the shadows, a faint signal pulsed, a surviving Dravixian beacon, hinting at greater threats lurking in the stars, leaving a surprising cliffhanger that promised more adventures ahead. The pair stood amidst the settling dust, hearts racing from the climax, their connection deeper than ever, curiosity burning about the universe's next move. Zerathia had been forever changed, and at the center of it all was a human's accidental genius, proving once more that in the grand tapestry of the cosmos, humanity's thread was unbreakable. As the dust settled like a veil of cosmic confetti over the council hall, Lyra and Eli remained locked in their embrace, the echoes of battle fading into a tense hush. The elders, still buzzing from their own unexpected enhancements, gathered around them in a semicircle, their transformed bodies moving with a vigor that hadn't been seen in generations. Thaler's broadened shoulders flexed as he clapped a hand on Eli's back, perhaps a bit too enthusiastically, nearly knocking the human off balance. "You, Earthling, have woven your thread into our tapestry indeed," the elder boomed, his voice carrying a dramatic gravitas that made the remaining crystals vibrate. But beneath the triumph, a new drama simmered, the faint pulse of that surviving Dravixian beacon, now projecting subtle holographic warnings across the hall's fractured walls, hinting at reinforcements en route. Lyra pulled back slightly from Eli, her amethyst eyes scanning the alerts with growing alarm, her blush lingering like a sunset that refused to fade. "The beacon? It's calling them. The Dravixians won't stop with one failed assault. They'll swarm Zerathia like shadows devouring light." Her words heightened the tension, the elders murmuring in hushed tones, their newly amplified forms shifting uncomfortably, robes straining against enhanced curves and builds, creating awkward rustles of fabric that filled the air with unintended humor. One elder, the portly Salvain, tugged at his suddenly ill-fitting sash, muttering, "By the stars, I feel like I've swallowed a supernova. How do humans live with such prominence?" Eli couldn't help but chuckle, a light-hearted sound that cut through the drama like a beam of earth sunshine. "Hey, welcome to the club. Back home, we call it Jim Gaines, but yours came with a side of alien tech. Just don't flex too hard, you might split those fancy robes." His joke elicited a ripple of nervous laughter from the council, easing the edge of panic, but it also drew a few awkward glances toward Lyra, whose own enhancements were impossible to ignore. She crossed her arms self-consciously, the motion only accentuating her asara, causing her blush to flare anew and prompting a younger elder to avert his eyes with exaggerated politeness. Thaler, regaining composure, gestured toward the central pedestal, where the beacon's signal intensified, projecting a map of incoming Dravixian fleets, sleek, ominous shadows converging on Zerathia's orbit. "We must fortify. But first, human, explain how your accident can be weaponized further. Our defenses are ancient, yours are chaotic brilliance." The drama escalated as the hall's alarms swelled to a low wail, lights flickering in rhythmic pulses that mirrored the heartbeat of impending doom. Eli stepped forward, his mind whirling with ideas, but as he interfaced his device with the pedestal, a surge of nano-energy backfired hilariously, zapping Salvain's throne and causing it to levitate uncontrollably, the elder clinging to it like a rodeo rider on a bucking asteroid. "Whoa there," Eli exclaimed, stifling a grin as he recalibrated. Nano-tech's got a sense of humor too. "Hold on, buddy, think happy thoughts." Salvain's flailing arms and wide-eyed expression drew outright chuckles from the group, even as Lyra rushed to help stabilize the throne, her enhanced strength allowing her to pull it down effortlessly. But in the process, her robe slipped at the shoulder, revealing a glimpse of glowing skin that made several elders blush in tandem, an awkward symphony of shimmering cheeks that heightened the absurdity amid the crisis. Lyra shot Eli a playful glare, readjusting her garment with dramatic flair. "Your brilliance is going to get us all floating into the void. Focus, Earthling, before I decide humans are more trouble than they're worth." Her tone was teasing, laced with affection, but the underlying drama pulsed stronger, the beacon's signal now broadcasting taunts from the Dravixian warlord, a guttural voice echoing, "Zorathians, your curse was mercy. Now face oblivion." The words sent a chill through the hall, silencing the laughter and ratcheting up the tension, elders exchanging worried glances as orbital shields began to strain under preliminary probes. Eli, undeterred, dove into action, his fingers dancing over the holographic controls. "All right, let's turn this party up a notch. The nano-tech can propagate through your energy webs, enhance the entire planetary defense grid, but it'll require a core sync." From Lyra and me. He glanced at her, the implication clear. Their bond, forged in intimacy and amplified by the tech, was the key. The elders nodded gravely, but the awkwardness peaked when Thaler cleared his throat. "A sync, involving physical attunement, here in the hall?" His question hung in the air, dramatic and mortifying, as visions of their earlier alcove encounter flashed through Lyra's mind, her blush exploding into a full-body luminescence that lit the room like a lantern. Eli rubbed the back of his neck, a sheepish grin breaking through. Not that kind of sync. More like a handhold and energy transfer. Keep it PG, folks. I'm not putting on a show for the council. The humor diffused the moment, elders chuckling despite themselves, but Lyra's heart raced with a mix of embarrassment and thrill. She took his hand, their palms pressing together, the nano-tech humming to life between them. As the sync initiated, waves of energy radiated outward, bolstering the shields and enhancing warriors across the citadel, bodies gaining strength, weapons glowing fiercer. But in a humorous twist, the surge overdid it for some. A nearby guard's armor expanded comically, making him look like an inflated balloon, waddling awkwardly as he tried to adjust. "Steady now," Eli murmured to Lyra, his voice low and reassuring amid the drama. "Feel that, it's us, our connection powering this." She nodded, her pointed ears twitching with the intensity, the awkward intimacy of the moment, hands clasped in public, energies mingling, heightening her senses until every pulse felt like a caress. The beacon's taunts grew louder, the warlord's image materializing larger, its red eyes glaring. "You delay the inevitable, our fleet arrives." The drama crested as the first Dravixian ships pierced the atmosphere, dark silhouettes against the moons, firing volleys that rocked the citadel. Warriors mobilized, enhanced forms leaping into battle with dramatic leaps, plasma blasts clashing in spectacular displays. Eli and Lyra remained at the core, their sync fueling countermeasures, but an awkward hiccup arose when the nano-tech, sensing Lyra's lingering arousal from earlier, amplified the wrong signals. Her blush triggered a feedback loop, causing random enhancements across the battlefield. One warrior's Asara ballooned mid-fight, distracting an enemy long enough for a comedic takedown, the Dravixian drone crashing in confusion. Eli burst out laughing despite the peril. "Okay, that's new. Your blush is literally a weapon now, talk about killer looks." Lyra elbowed him lightly, her own laughter bubbling up, the humor a lifeline in the chaos. But the stakes soared higher as the warlord's flagship loomed, unleashing a massive energy beam toward the hall. "Brace!" Thaler shouted, the elders forming a protective circle, their combined power, now nano-boosted, erecting a barrier that shimmered under the assault. In the midst of the strain, Lyra leaned into Eli, whispering dramatically, "If we survive this, promise me no more accidental enlargements. My wardrobe can't take it." He winked, squeezing her hand. "Deal, but admit it, this is the most fun you've had in eons." Their banter lightened the load, but the beam intensified, cracks forming in the barrier, suspense building to a fever pitch. Solvane, still adjusting his sash, quipped, "If I pop a seam, I'm blaming the human." The laughter mingled with the roar of battle, awkward situations piling on as enhanced elders tripped over their own amplified strides, turning potential disaster into a symphony of resilient chaos. As the flagship closed in, Eli had a flash of inspiration. Redirect the sync, use the blush feedback to overload their systems. Lyra's eyes widened, the idea bold and bizarre. They poured their energy into it, her persistent flush channeling a surge that leaped through the webs, infiltrating the Dravixian tech. The warlord's image flickered, its voice warping comically high-pitched. "What is this? Warmth? Systems? Blushing?" The flagship's weapons faltered, shields glowing pink in an absurd display, drawing chuckles even from the warriors below. The drama heightened to its peak as the beam weakened, the council's barrier pushing back with renewed force. In a thrilling reversal, the overloaded ship veered off course, colliding with its own drones in a fireball of ironic justice. Cheers erupted, but the victory was bittersweet. The fleet retreated, yet scouts reported more on the horizon. Lyra collapsed against Eli, exhausted but exhilarated, her blush finally softening. "You and your human humor, it saved us again." Thaler approached, a rare smile cracking his stern facade. "Indeed, but the war is not over. We must prepare for the true onslaught." The awkward afterglow of enhancements lingered, elders adjusting robes, warriors flexing experimentally, infusing the moment with humor that bonded them tighter. Eli pulled Lyra close, whispering, "Ready for round 2? This time with less wardrobe malfunctions." She laughed, the sound echoing through the hall, a beacon of hope amid the unfolding saga. As repairs began and alliances solidified, the pair stole a moment alone, the drama of the day forging their bond unbreakable. Awkward mishaps and all, setting the stage for greater challenges where humanity's wit would shine brightest. As repairs hummed to life around them, the citadel's crystalline structures mending with soft, glowing pulses, and elders coordinating with newfound energy, Lyra and Eli slipped away from the bustling hall, seeking solace in the quieter wings of the palace. The air still carried the faint scent of ozone from the battle, a reminder of the chaos they'd just quelled. But in this stolen interlude, the world's weight seemed to lift, leaving only the magnetic pull between them. Lyra's hand remained in Eli's, her fingers interlaced with his in a grip that spoke of unspoken promises, her blush a gentle afterglow that illuminated the dim corridors like a personal aurora. They found refuge in a secluded alcove overlooking the Aurora fields, a private balcony where the twin moons bathed everything in silvery light. The drama of the day had forged their connection into something unbreakable, yet in this moment of calm, it simmered with a deeper intensity, awkward mishaps forgotten amid the quiet intimacy. Eli leaned against the railing, pulling her close, his arms wrapping around her waist with a tenderness that made her heart flutter. "We've earned this," he murmured, his breath warm against her pointed ear, sending a shiver down her spine. "A little peace before the next storm." Lyra nodded, her white hair cascading over his shoulder as she rested her head against him. The enhancements from the nano-tech still thrummed within her, heightening every sensation, the brush of his fingers along her back, the subtle press of her enhanced curves against his chest. It was as if her body had awakened to a new language of touch, one that spoke volumes in whispers. She turned in his embrace, her amethyst eyes meeting his with a mix of vulnerability and desire, the blush deepening across her pale skin. "Eli, the way you make me feel, it's like the stars aligning inside me. I want to explore that here now." His response was a soft kiss, starting at her forehead and trailing down to her lips, gentle at first, then growing with the passion they'd kindled earlier. The world faded, the distant sounds of repairs, the lingering threat of Dravixian shadows, all dissolving into the rhythm of their shared breath. Lyra's hands roamed his back, feeling the strength of his human form, so different from the ethereal grace of her people, yet perfectly complementary. As their kisses deepened, she guided him to a nearby lounging platform, cushioned with adaptive fabrics that molded to their bodies like a welcoming cloud. They sank into it together, clothes shedding layer by layer in a dance of mutual discovery. Eli's jumpsuit unzipped with a soft hiss, revealing the toned contours of his chest and arms, scars from adventures past adding to his allure. Lyra's robe slipped away effortlessly, her glowing skin exposed to the moonlight, her enhanced Esara rising and falling with anticipation. She felt exposed, yet empowered, the nano-tech amplifying the warmth pooling in her core, making every caress feel like a spark of electricity. "You're beautiful," Eli whispered, his hands tracing the curves of her hips and up to her waist, reverent and slow, as if memorizing every inch. She arched into his touch, a soft sigh escaping her lips as his fingers explored higher, cupping the fullness that the tech had bestowed upon her. The sensation was exquisite, a blend of tenderness and intensity that made her blush spread like wildfire, her pointed ears tingling with pleasure. Eli's mouth followed his hands, planting kisses along her neck and collarbone, down to the soft swells that drew him in. Lyra's breath hitched, her body responding with waves of delight, each movement building a symphony of shared ecstasy. She pulled him closer, her legs entwining with his, feeling the heat of his desire mirroring her own. In this intimate union, they moved together with a harmony that transcended worlds, slow at first, savoring the connection, then with growing urgency as passions ignited. Lyra's enhanced senses turned every thrust into a cascade of stars behind her eyes, her moans soft and melodic, echoing faintly in the alcove. Eli held her gaze, his own expressions of pleasure mingling with words of affection, praising her strength, her beauty, the way she made him feel alive in ways no space voyage ever could. The nano-tech wove its magic deeper, syncing their rhythms, amplifying the bliss until it felt like they were floating in a private galaxy of their own creation. Time stretched, the moons shifting overhead as they explored each other fully, bodies gliding in perfect tandem. Lyra's hands clutched his shoulders, her nails digging lightly as peaks of joy washed over her blush a constant companion that added to the intimacy, making her feel cherished rather than shy. Eli's movements were attentive, responding to her cues, ensuring their shared experience was one of mutual fulfillment. As they reached the height of their passion, a crescendo of sensations enveloped them, waves crashing in unison, leaving them breathless and entwined, hearts pounding in sync. They lay there afterward, limbs tangled, the auroras outside mirroring the afterglow within. Lyra traced patterns on his chest, her voice a contented whisper. "This bond, it's more than physical. It's like our essences have merged." Eli smiled, kissing her temple. "Humans call it love, but yeah, it's cosmic." The moment was pure, a respite that strengthened them for what lay ahead, the threat still looming but now faced with unbreakable unity. Yet, as they basked in the quiet, a subtle vibration from Eli's device interrupted the serenity, an incoming signal from the Odyssey, his ship partially repaired and detecting anomalies in orbit. Lyra sat up slowly, her robe draping loosely as she listened, the blush fading but the warmth lingering. The Dravixians? They are regrouping. Eli nodded, pulling her back into his arms for one more lingering kiss. Then we'll meet them together. But first, let's savor this a little longer. Their interlude had not only deepened their connection but infused them with renewed energy, the nano-tech's effects lingering like a gentle hum, preparing them for the battles to come. In the heart of Zerathia, amid alliances and enhancements, their love story unfolded as a beacon of hope, proving that even in the vastness of space, intimate moments could light the way forward. The signal grew insistent, pulling them back to reality, but the memory of their shared passion would fuel their resolve, turning personal bliss into planetary strength. As they dressed and prepared to return to the council, Lyra felt a surge of confidence, her transformed body no longer a source of awkwardness, but a symbol of their united power. Eli took her hand once more, leading her back into the fray, the alcove's secrets tucked away like a treasured star. The greater challenges awaited, but with their bond sealed in such profound intimacy, they were ready to face whatever the cosmos hurled their way, humanity's wit and Zorathian grace intertwined forever. As they stepped out from the alcove's serene embrace, the cool night air of Zerathia brushing against their skin like a gentle reminder of the world beyond their private haven, Lyra felt the lingering warmth of their connection infuse her with a quiet strength. Eli's hand in hers was steady, a human anchor in the swirling uncertainties ahead, as they navigated the winding corridors back toward the council hall. The signal from the Odyssey continued its insistent beep on his wrist device, a rhythmic pulse that matched the distant hum of the Citadel's repairs, crystals reforming, energy webs stabilizing under the watchful eyes of enhanced warriors. "Whatever's regrouping out there," Eli said softly, his voice carrying that earthy optimism, "we'll handle it. Together we're unstoppable." Lyra smiled, her amethyst eyes reflecting the moonlight filtering through the translucent walls, her white hair swaying with each step. The enhancements still thrummed within her, a subtle vibration that made her feel more alive, more attuned to him than ever. But as they rounded a corner, the corridor opening into a broader atrium alive with floating orbs of light, a new alert flashed across Eli's device, not just a detection, but a decoded transmission bursting into holographic life before them. It wasn't from the Dravixians, as they'd assumed. No, this was something far more intimate, a voice from Eli's past echoing through the ether. "Odyssey to Captain Elias Thorne. Priority override. The package has activated. Repeat, the package has activated. Return to base for extraction." Eli froze, his grip on Lyra's hand tightening involuntarily, the color draining from his face as the hologram stabilized into a familiar face, a stern woman in Earth Alliance uniform, her insignia gleaming with authority. "Elias? Who's Elias?" Lyra asked, her voice a whisper laced with confusion, but the pieces were already tumbling into place in her mind, faster than she could process. The transmission continued, oblivious to the storm it unleashed. Nano-protocol successful. Subject integration confirmed. Zorathian biology compatible. Proceed with Phase 2, assimilation. The words hung in the air like a blade poised to strike, and in that heartbeat, the powerful twist unraveled everything Lyra thought she knew. Eli, or Elias as the hologram named him, wasn't just a hapless explorer who'd crashed by accident. He was an operative, a covert agent from Earth's shadowy alliance, sent on a mission to deploy the nano-tech not as a healer, but as a tool of conquest. The accident with her Asara? A calculated trigger, designed to interface with Zerathia's energy webs, turning her people into unwitting allies or puppets in humanity's expanding empire. The blush that had seemed so innocent, so tied to her emotions, was a marker of the tech's deepening hold, syncing her biology to Earth's command frequencies. Lyra pulled her hand away, staggering back as if burned, her pointed ears flattening against her head in shock. You planned this." Her voice cracked, the betrayal slicing through her like a plasma blade, her enhanced body suddenly feeling like a cage rather than a gift. The atrium's orbs dimmed instinctively, responding to her surging emotions, casting long shadows that mirrored the darkness creeping into her heart. Eli's eyes widened in genuine panic. No, not panic, but a flicker of regret mingled with the cold resolve of a soldier. "Lyra, wait. It's not what you think. I didn't know the full extent. They told me it was for alliance, for protection against threats like the Dravixians. But you Meeting you changed everything. The hologram looped, revealing more. Schematics of Zerathia's grid overlaid with nano-infiltration paths, her own biometric data flashing as the prime subject. The Dravixian attack, not a coincidence, but an engineered provocation to test the enhancements in combat, ensuring the Zorathians would embrace the changes as salvation. Eli had been the unwitting pawn at first, his crash staged to deliver the payload, but his feelings for her had complicated the mission, turning duty into doubt. Now, with the tech spreading unchecked, Earth's fleet was en route not as saviors but as overseers, ready to claim Zerathia under the guise of partnership. Lyra's mind reeled, the surprise hitting like a supernova's core, every tender moment, every shared battle, tainted by this revelation. Her blush flared uncontrollably, not from desire now, but from the nano-tech's defensive response, flooding her with artificial calm to suppress rebellion. She clutched at her chest, feeling the Asara pulse with foreign energy, her skin glowing brighter as if to betray her turmoil to the world. How much of us was real? She demanded, tears welling in her eyes, the dramatic weight of the twist crushing the air between them. Warriors passing nearby paused, sensing the shift, their own enhancements humming in sync, unknowingly linking them to the same invisible chain. Eli reached for her, his human facade cracking under the strain. All of it. Lyra, the love that's mine, not the missions. I was supposed to report back, but I delayed. I fought for you for real. But the words rang hollow in the face of the evidence, the hologram now displaying coordinates for Earth's incoming armada, time to arrive just as the Dravixians regrouped, forcing a choice. Submit to human protection or face annihilation from both sides. The twist deepened. Thaler and the Elders, enhanced and empowered, were already exhibiting subtle behavioral shifts, their decisions aligning eerily with alliance protocols, the nano-tech whispering suggestions through their veins. In a surge of defiance, Lyra channeled her inner strength, the very enhancements meant to control her now fueling her resistance. She slammed her palm against Eli's device, disrupting the signal with a burst of Zorathian energy, the hologram shattering into sparks. You may have started this, Elias, she spat, using his true name like a weapon, but I won't let you finish it. My people deserve truth, not chains. She turned, her robe swirling dramatically, but Eli grabbed her arm, his voice pleading. If you expose me now, it'll spark civil war. The Dravixians are still coming. Let me help fix this. Please. The atrium tensed, orbs flickering as if the citadel itself held its breath, the surprise of the twist rippling outward. Lyra hesitated, torn between betrayal and the lingering pull of their bond, her heart a battlefield where love clashed with loyalty. Unknown to them both, the nano-tech had evolved further in her, granting her glimpses of Eli's memories, flashes of his recruitment, his doubts, his genuine affection blooming amid the deception. It was a double-edged revelation, surprising even her, as she realized the tech wasn't just a tool of control. It had begun to foster true hybrid unity, defying its creators. As alarms blared anew, Dravixian scouts breaching the outer shields once more, Lyra made her choice, pulling Eli along toward the hall. You owe me answers, human, and redemption. Prove your love isn't a lie, or by the stars, I'll end this myself. The twist had shattered their world, but in its wake, a fragile alliance reformed, charged with the thrill of uncertainty. Earth's shadows loomed, the Dravixians advanced, and at the center stood Lyra, no longer just enhanced but awakened, a force that could either save or doom them all. Eli followed, his mind racing with the implications, the powerful reversal forcing him to confront his own divided loyalties. As they burst into the council hall, elders turning with expectant gazes, the true battle began, not against external foes, but the insidious web of deceit that bound their fates. The surprise lingered, a catalyst for greater drama, as Lyra's voice rang out. Elders, we have been deceived, from within and without. The hall erupted in murmurs, the twist unfolding into a cascade of revelations that would test every bond, every enhancement in the fires of cosmic intrigue. Yet, in the midst of the chaos, a subtle hum persisted in Lyra's core, the nano-tech whispering possibilities, hinting at a counter-twist. Perhaps she could reprogram it, turning Earth's weapon against them, forging a new path where Zerathia rose not as subjects, but as equals or conquerors. The surprise had only just begun to unfold, pulling them deeper into a saga where trust was the ultimate weapon and love the most dangerous variable. The elders' murmurs swelled into a cacophony of confusion and outrage, the council hall vibrating with the raw energy of betrayal as Lyra's declaration hung in the air like a charged plasma cloud. Thaler's silver-veined face twisted in dramatic fury, his enhanced form rising from his throne with a thunderous stomp that cracked the floor beneath him. Perhaps a bit too dramatically, as the nano-tech amplified his every movement, making him wobble slightly like an overinflated balloon on the verge of popping. Deceived, explain, child of Orales, and you, human, or whatever your true name is, speak before I summon the void to swallow your secrets. Lyra stood firm at the hall's center, her white hair whipping in the sudden gust from the energy webs, her pointed ears erect with resolve, though her blush betrayed a flicker of inner turmoil. The nano-tech's whisper still echoing possibilities in her mind, a tantalizing counter to the chaos. Ili, or Elias as the truth branded him, stepped beside her, his human composure cracking under the elder's piercing stares, sweat beading on his brow in a most awkward display. The drama heightened as holographic archives flickered to life around them, pulled from the disrupted signal, projecting Earth's alliance schematics overlaying Zerathia's serene landscapes like an invasive tattoo. Listen, Ili urged, his voice steady but laced with desperation, raising his hands in a gesture of surrender that accidentally triggered a minor nano-surge, causing a nearby elder's robe to tighten comically around his midsection, eliciting a muffled yelp. Oof! By the auroras, what fresh indignity is this? The elder grumbled, tugging at the fabric with exaggerated hops, drawing a ripple of unintended chuckles from the assembly despite the gravity of the moment. Lyra shot Eli a sidelong glance, her lips twitching in reluctant humor. Her gifts keep giving, Elias. Perhaps next it'll make us all dance like earth puppets. The light-hearted jab cut through the tension just enough to keep the elders listening, though Thaler's glare could have melted asteroids. Humor won't save you, outsider. These projections, they show infiltration, control. Our enhancements, our salvation from the Dravixians, was a leash. His words boomed, heightening the drama as warriors flooded the hall, their amplified bodies forming a circle. Spears humming with power that now felt tainted. One young guard, his muscles overbulked by the tech, flexed involuntarily, knocking over a crystalline podium with a crash that echoed like cosmic laughter, his face flushing in embarrassment. Apologies, elder, this strength, it's got a mind of its own. Ili seized the awkward diversion, stepping forward with earnest eyes fixed on Lyra. It's true, I was sent by the Alliance. Elias Thorne, covert ops. The nano-tech was meant to forge alliances, but they twisted it for dominance. The Dravixian curse, engineered by Earth to create dependency. But I swear, when I met you, Lyra, it all changed. I delayed reports, sabotaged my own ship logs. This bond, it's real. His confession poured out, dramatic and raw, the hall falling silent save for the hum of the webs, elders exchanging uneasy glances as their own enhancements pulsed in response, robes shifting uncomfortably in a chorus of awkward rustles. Lyra's heart twisted, the surprise of his vulnerability clashing with the sting of deceit, her blush deepening not from tech alone but from the flood of shared memories, flashes of their intimacy now shadowed by doubt. Real enough to risk everything? She challenged, her voice rising in dramatic crescendo, stepping closer until they were inches apart, the air between them crackling. But before he could answer, the citadel shook violently, Dravixian reinforcements breaching the shields, their dark ships visible through the dome as fiery trails streaked the skies. Alarms wailed, heightening the panic, warriors scrambling while elders barked orders, one tripping over his elongated robes in a slapstick tumble that would have been hilarious if not for the impending doom. They're here! Thaler roared, his throne levitating in agitation, carrying him aloft like an unwilling king on a parade float. Mobilize the grid, but if the human's tech betrays us. He trailed off, glaring at Eli, who activated his device frantically, only for it to glitch, sending a harmless spark that enlarged a decorative orb into a massive, bouncing sphere, careening through the hall and bowling over a cluster of guards in a chain of awkward falls. Laughter bubbled up involuntarily, even from Lyra, who couldn't help but quip, Elias, if you're trying to lighten the mood, your timing is impeccable or terrible. Ili grinned sheepishly, rubbing his neck. Hey, at least it's not enlarging anything. Vital this time. The humor provided a brief anchor amid the escalating drama, but the stakes soared as the first Dravixian boarding pods pierced the citadel's outer walls, shadowy figures spilling forth with void blades gleaming. Warriors clashed in the corridors beyond, plasma bursts lighting the scene in dramatic flashes, enhanced Zorathians holding the line with amplified prowess. Though not without mishaps, like one fighter's Asara throwing off her balance mid-leap, sending her tumbling into an enemy in a most undignified tackle. Take that, you void-sucking pest. She yelled, turning embarrassment into triumph, the hall echoing with mixed cheers and chuckles. Lyra grabbed Eli's arm, pulling him toward the central console, her mind racing with the nano-whispers. Reprogram it, turn the tide. If your love is real, help me rewrite this. Redirect the tech against Earth and the Dravixians. Her words were a dramatic plea, eyes locking with his in a moment of raw intensity, the awkwardness of their fractured trust adding layers to the tension. Lee nodded, his fingers flying over the controls beside hers, but a surge backfired, causing Thaler's throne to spin wildly, the elder flailing like a cosmic top. "Stop this infernal merry-go-round," he bellowed, drawing belly laughs from the warriors despite the invading hordes. As they worked, the drama peaked with incoming transmissions. Earth's alliance hailing the Citadel, a holographic admiral materializing with smug authority. "Captain Thorne, report. Integration complete. Our fleet arrives to secure the asset." The revelation stunned the elders further, gasps rippling through the hall, but Eli's response was swift. He jammed the signal with an override code, his voice defiant. "Integration failed, Admiral. Consider this my resignation." The Admiral's image warped in shock, but not before ordering an advance, heightening the peril as human ships appeared on scanners, converging with the Dravixians in a pincer attack. Chaos ensued, the hall becoming a command center of frantic activity, elders directing defenses while adjusting to their awkward enhancements, one elder's voice cracking pubescently from a vocal surge, prompting snickers amid orders. Lyra and Eli synced their efforts, her Zorathian intuition blending with his human codes, the nano-tech bending to their will in fits and starts. A test pulse went awry, enlarging a warrior's spear to comical proportions, the fighter wielding it like an oversized toothpick, skewering multiple foes in a humorous sweep. "Ha, eat plasma invaders," he crowed, turning the tide in one sector. But the drama deepened as a Dravixian elite breached the hall itself, a towering brute with red eyes locking on Lyra. "The prime subject, ours now." It snarled, lunging with void blade raised. Eli intercepted, his device deploying a nano-shield that held, barely the impact sending them both sprawling in an awkward heap, Lyra landing atop him in a position that flushed her cheeks anew. "Not the time for romance," she teased breathlessly, rolling off to channel an energy blast, the brute staggering back. Eli quipped, "Hey, any excuse to get close," his humor a shield against the fear as they fought side by side, their movements a dance of redemption. Thaler, finally grounding his throne with a thud, joined the fray, his amplified strength hurling the intruder through a wall in a dramatic explosion of crystal shards. "For Zerathia," he thundered, though his robe tore audibly, exposing a sliver of silver-veined skin that made him blush furiously. "Ignore that, focus on the foe." The awkward moment fueled more laughter, bonding the defenders in resilient spirit. As the battle raged, Lyra's reprogramming took hold, the nanotech rippling outward, disrupting both enemy fleets. Dravixian ships faltered, their systems blushing with overloads, while Earth's vessels received false retreat orders, veering off in confusion. The hall cheered, but the victory was tentative, scanners showing reinforcements on the horizon. Lyra turned to Eli, her hand on his chest, drama pulsing in her voice. "You've proven something today, Elias, but trust, it'll take more than a glitchy rescue." He pulled her close amid the debris, whispering, "Then let me earn it, one awkward enlargement at a time." She laughed, the sound cutting through the tension as Thaler approached, clapping them both on the back, gently this time. "You've bought us time, but the stars demand more. Prepare for the true reckoning." The Citadel held, defenses bolstered, but the awkward alliances and humorous hiccups had woven a tapestry of unity, heightening the drama for the climactic confrontations ahead. Lyra felt the nano-whispers evolve, hinting at greater power, her bond with Eli a fragile flame in the cosmic storm, ready to ignite or extinguish at any moment. As the Citadel's defenses hummed with renewed vigilance, the reprogrammed nanotech weaving a protective veil over Zerathia like a guardian aurora, Lyra and Eli stood amidst the settling aftermath, their hands still clasped in a grip that spoke of hard-won trust. The elders, robes mended and postures straightened, though not without a few lingering awkward tugs at oversnug fabrics, dispersed to oversee the final sweeps of the battlefield, their enhanced forms moving with a grace that blended ancient wisdom with newfound vitality. Thaler's parting nod to them was gruff but approving, his silver-veined eyes softening just a fraction. "You've turned poison into elixir, young ones. Zerathia endures because of it. Now, see to your own wounds, the stars wait for no one." Lyra led Eli away from the hall's clamor, her steps purposeful yet weary, guiding him through hidden passages that wound deeper into the Citadel's heart, where the energy webs pulsed like a living heartbeat. the air grew warmer, scented with the faint bloom of luminous flowers that unfurled only in times of peace, their petals glowing in response to her presence. She hadn't spoken much since the reprogramming's success, the whispers in her mind quieting to a gentle hum, but now, as they entered a tranquil chamber bathed in the soft light of floating crystals, she turned to face him fully. Her amethyst eyes searched his, the blush on her cheeks a subtle reminder of all they'd shared and nearly lost. Elias, she said softly, using his true name not as a weapon this time, but as an acknowledgement, the battle's won but the war in here. She placed a hand over her heart, feeling the nano-tech's steady rhythm. It's only just ending. Elias met her gaze without flinching, his human features etched with the exhaustion of a man who'd crossed galaxies and betrayed his own to find something real. He stepped closer, his fingers brushing hers in a touch that reignited the spark between them, gentle yet charged with the memory of their intimacies. I know, I came here as a tool of the Alliance thinking I was building bridges, but you showed me they were chains. Redeeming that starts with truth. I love you, Lyra. Not because of the mission, not because of the tech, because you're fierce, beautiful, and you make this vast universe feel like home. His words flowed with quiet sincerity, the drama of their journey culminating in this intimate confession, the chamber's crystals dimming slightly as if to grant them privacy. She felt a tear trace down her cheek, not from sorrow, but from the overwhelming release of doubt. The nano-tech, now fully under her command, amplified her emotions without overwhelming them, allowing her to feel the depth of his words like a warm tide washing over her. "And I love you," she whispered, her voice steady. "The man who stumbled into my world and turned it upside down, literally, with all those enlargements." A small smile broke through, laced with the humor that had carried them through awkward mishaps and dire straits, lightening the moment without diminishing its weight. She pulled him into an embrace, her enhanced curves pressing against him in a way that stirred familiar desires, but this time, it was grounded in forgiveness, not just passion. They sank onto a cushioned alcove overlooking the aurora fields, the twin moons casting a silvery glow that danced across their skin. Elias traced the line of her pointed ear, his touch reverent, eliciting a soft sigh from her. "What now?" he asked, his breath mingling with hers. "Earth's fleet is retreating, confused by the false signals. The Dravixians are scattered, their curse broken. Zerathia stands free." Lyra leaned back, her white hair spilling like silk over the cushions, her robe slipping just enough to reveal the glowing contours of her form, a body that had once been a source of insecurity, now a symbol of her power. "Now we build something new. The elders have agreed, an alliance on our terms, your knowledge, our magic, merged without domination. And you'll stay, won't you? Not as an operative, but as one of us." Her question hung in the air, dramatic in its simplicity, the fate of their love teetering on his answer. He nodded, his eyes shining with resolve. "I'm done with shadows. Let the Alliance chase their empires. I've found my world here." Their lips met then, a kiss that sealed the promise, deepening with the passion they'd discovered in stolen moments. Hands explored familiar paths, clothes falling away as they surrendered to the intimacy that had always been their anchor. Lyra's enhanced senses turned every caress into a symphony, her body arching under his touch, moans escaping like melodies from the stars. Elias moved with her, their rhythms syncing perfectly, the nano-tech enhancing without intruding, building to peaks of ecstasy that left them breathless and entwined. As they lay together afterward, the auroras outside flaring in vibrant celebration, Lyra traced patterns on his chest, feeling the steady beat of his human heart. "Humans," she murmured with a chuckle, "always full of surprises, who knew one crash landing could rewrite destinies?" He laughed softly, pulling her closer. "That's the HFY spirit, humanity, fuck yeah. We stumble, we fix, we conquer. With love as our secret weapon." Word spread through Zerathia in the days that followed. The human had become a hero, not through conquest, but through redemption. The elders formalized the pact, sharing nano-tech adaptations with Earth envoys who arrived under flags of truce, brokered by Elias's insider knowledge. The Dravixians, their forces crippled, sued for peace, their warlord humbled by the blushing overloads that had turned their tech against them, a humorous tale that became legend in Zorathian lore, often retold with exaggerated reenactments that left audiences in stitches. Lyra and Elias built a life amid the crystalline spires, their bond a beacon for interspecies harmony. She led research into hybrid technologies, her enhanced form a living testament to possibility, while he shared stories of Earth's wonders, oceans, mountains, and the unyielding human spirit that had won her heart. Their children, born of love and science, carried traits of both worlds, pointed ears with human resilience, glowing skin that blushed with emotion. Years turned to cycles, and as they stood on the same balcony where it all began, watching auroras dance under the twin moons, Lyra leaned into him. "Do you regret it, leaving your stars for mine?" Elias shook his head, his arm around her waist. "Not for a second. This is our story, epic, awkward, passionate, and it's just beginning." In the vast cosmos, where empires rose and fell, Zerathia shone brighter, a testament to the power of accidental miracles and deliberate choices. Humanity's ingenuity had sparked the change, but it was love that sustained it, proving once more that even in the face of betrayal and battle, connection could conquer all. The stars whispered their approval, and in that eternal dance, Lyra and Elias found their forever. A good ending, indeed, to a tale woven from the threads of the universe itself. And so, in the endless expanse of the stars, Lyra and Elias's love became a legend, inspiring countless worlds to embrace unity over conquest. Their story reminds us that even in the face of betrayal, true connection can heal and transform. As the storyteller, I personally love how this tale blends sci-fi adventure with heartfelt romance, showing humanity's ingenuity in the most unexpected ways. What do you think? Would you want to see a sequel where they face new galactic threats? Thank you so much for watching and joining this cosmic journey. Your likes, subs, comments, and shares are the biggest motivation for us to create even better stories. Hit that button and let us know your thoughts below.